While a lot of us did our rookie drafts pretty shortly after the actual NBA draft or shortly after Summer League, not everyone has yet. There are certain leagues that maybe they're still looking to fill some people, so they haven't been able to do their draft yet, or maybe they're just smarter than the rest of us and are waiting until towards training camp to draft. So maybe they can get a few headlines or updates from coaches, even if it is just all coach speak, just to get a better understanding of how these rookies will be used this year and how they look. Maybe that's what some people are waiting on. That's totally fine. It is probably smarter for some people, but it also doesn't give you the opportunity to necessarily take advantage of groupthink and try and get your guys at value, especially before those headlines start popping. But what we do have here that we're going to talk about today is the rookie draft results from the Dynasty 30 League. And if you're not familiar with the Dynasty 30, it is a Dynasty League with 30 different fantasy analysts that participate in it, a lot of Dynasty analysts, a lot of just general fantasy analysts, people that are going to do their research and make the best pick they possibly can. And we're going to take a look at how that rookie draft turned out. I'll mention what picks I made and what trades I made because I made 2 trades during the draft. Went in with 4 picks, left with 2. So we will be sure to talk about some of those. So I have it because the way Fantrax is, the draft results, it's just rows. So since it's 2 rounds, it's 2 very long rows. It's not very pleasant to look at. So if you're watching, I'm just going to have it in a slideshow, and I will mention who made picks where it's relevant, specifically my picks or other nice values. Shout out to those people. So I'm going to go and pull this up, and what we go ahead and see pretty quickly here is that Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper were the top 2 picks. Not super surprising, but what is a little different about our top 2 picks in this draft that isn't anything new, but it is pretty cool, is that we will get to see, since they're on good teams, we'll get to see both of them play on Christmas Day. And if you check out our partners at FanDuel, you can go ahead and bet on these lines. This is 4.5 months out, and there's already live lines on some of these games. You can go ahead. The Spurs are going to play OKC. The Thunder are currently favored by 9.5 points, but we will get to see, assuming health, Dylan Harper play on Christmas Day. And we will also, of course, get to see Cooper Flag play in Golden State. So that'll be a really good matchup there. Getting to see him, Anthony Davis, take on Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry and the Warriors. Should be a fun matchup. The Warriors are currently favored by 4.5. That'll be in Golden State. I think as far as the rest of the teams, there's not too many high-profile rookies other than maybe Johan Berenjay, because Thomas Sorber I don't think will. I mean, maybe he'll be playing for the Thunder. Maybe we'll get to see Sorber. Probably won't get to, maybe he'll be active. We won't get to see him. And then Nikola Topic as well should be playing in that game, but we'll see how much he plays. But we'll definitely get to see the top 2 picks in the draft, which can't say that happens too often, because generally these teams with the top picks don't get the opportunity to play on Christmas Day. This year we were, for better or worse, given some very good teams the top couple picks. And so now we're going to get to see these rookies on Christmas Day. So at least something good comes out of it. But I went with Dylan Harper with the number 2 pick. That was a pick that I made. If we go back, because this league started in 2022, I believe, because I think it was the first rookie draft was the Wemby draft. So it would have started when Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, they were rookies. And I traded back, I started my team with Evan Mobley. And then I had Robert Williams and Benedict Mathurin, traded them away for a few. I think both of them got me back 2 firsts, one in 23 that were late picks, then 2 in 2025. One was a late pick. One ended up being the number 4 pick. So I had my own pick that was number 2. I got Dylan Harper. And then the number 4 pick, which I ended up trading away So I think that just one, because it just goes to show that consensus rankings or consensus opinion on players can look very different year over year. Because if you look back and you say, like at the time, it wasn't a popular trade for me to trade those guys away and get some first back, because Benedict Mather was coming off a very strong rookie year, and Robert Williams was coming off some nice, very productive seasons despite already having some knee issues. I believe he was even still in Boston at that time. And now a few years later, it's like, okay, like, yeah, like most people looking back would 100% make those trades. But it's interesting because we talked with Matt Lawson about building your team in a dynasty league, especially in a larger league. And generally speaking, you don't trade away stars for picks, but maybe it's more okay to trade away some upside swings. But obviously, it just takes some bad luck from other teams. And that happens in the NBA too. Players or teams trade away picks with the intention that their team is going to be even better, and it's just going to be late picks that they're trading away. And then random occurrences happen and picks end up much higher. So that benefited me. So when Cooper Flag 1, Dylan Harper 2, which was my pick, I kept VJ Edgecombe 3, and then I traded away pick 4, which it was Josh Lloyd picking at 3, and I had checked out his ranking, saw that he had VJ Edgecombe from 3. I was like, okay, not going to be able to get VJ at pick 4. Let me, now that I have, I guess, kind of expressed like, hey, I'm not super interested in this trade, saw who else said that they would be interested in moving up, was able to work out a deal with Michael Waterloo, and I will pull up that trade if I can get this to cooperate with me. All right, so I traded away pick 4 and got back a 2026 first, a 2026 second, and Ron Holland. Now, the team I'm getting back from, which was Michael Waterloo's team, he had the 7th pick in this draft at the time. I think he also ended up trading away that pick. But looking at his team, it's not a 7th worst team in the league type of team. He has Cade Cunningham. He has Victor Wembanyama. He also made a couple extra trades in this draft to make his team a little bit better. And now, had I seen the roster he has now, looks a little bit different from the roster he had at the time when I made the deal, and I felt a little bit better. I was like, I'm not really loving his depth. Now his team is Cade Cunningham, Benedict Mather, and Ace Bailey, Gigi Jackson, Herb Jones, Victor Wembanyama in the starting lineup. Also was able to get Cedric Howard, has like Jordan Hawkins, Trey Jones off the bench, even like Moses Moody to an extent as a guy that's going to get playing time. So the team's a little bit better than what we were looking at the time. But he also had the 7th pick this year, which means, it was the Victor Wembanyama illness / injury that had him out for the second half of the season, basically, that kind of had his team not as good. He also, he started off his team with Cade Cunningham and was able to draft Wemby, so his team wasn't as good. So it's not, looking back now, it's like, okay, like that pick is probably not going to be ideal. But with how I was looking at it, I was like, do I really value like Ace Bailey significantly higher than Ron Holland? Like I was like, okay, I actually like Ron Holland a good bit. Thought he looked good at Summer League. Excited to see what he does in year 2. A fantasy-friendly skill set, a really ton of upside there. And the chance that at the time, a less deep team, now there's some more depth there. Maybe 1 or 2 injuries just derails the season and that pick flies up the board in what's supposed to be a very, very good class. Possible. Now, is that going to happen? For sure? And I would say even like probably, like it's probably not going to happen, but the off chance of that, it's like an unprotected first and a really good class. I was fine with that. I wasn't so in love with Ace Bailey that I was opposed to making that trade. Continuing on with the draft, it went Con Knipple at 5, Trey Johnson at 6, Igor Dioman at 7, Colin Murray-Boyles 8, Jeremiah Fears 9, Colin Malawatch at 10. Nothing super surprising there. Cedric Howard at 11, and as I mentioned, Michael Waterloo traded back from 7 to get 11 and then ended up getting Cedric Howard at 11. know he likes the Grizzlies, so maybe that was a factor. But he got for pick 7 and a second round pick, got pick 11 and Herb Jones. So that's a pretty good deal when you look at that. It's like, okay, yeah, trading back from Igor Dioman to get Cedric Howard, but then you add in Herb Jones. Like, oh, okay, like I like that a good bit more. Next pick, 12 was Derek Queen. 13, Nick Clifford. That's probably a little higher than you'll see in many rankings, but definitely a win now pick. And let's see who went with that pick. Was shout out to Thunder Dan, who got Nick Clifford at 13. Definitely more of a win now pick, but also just a good basketball player. So can't fault anyone for going with that. And on his team, he has OG Anunoby, Trey Murphy, Asar Thompson, Modest Buzelis, Peyton Pritchard, who should be in for a big year, John Collins. So a pretty solid team there. So adding more of a win-now piece as opposed to some of the guys who went the next few picks like Carter Bryant, Thomas Sorber, Young Hansen, Noah Essengate, Kasper Siakachonis, like guys that may not be quite as productive in year one as Nick Clifford should be. Makes a ton of sense. Just mentioned a few picks in a row. I did have, I think it was pick 18. And I got a few offers on pick 18. And what I ended up giving up for what ended up being Kasper Siakachonis, I got back, gave up 18, got back a 2027 second round pick and another 2026 first round pick. This is from more of a win now team that should be competitive, but it's very health dependent here. It's got Steph Curry, Jamal Murray, LeBron, Jeremy Sohan, Isaiah Joe, Sam Hauser, Jared McCain. So like Steph or LeBron at their age, they miss any time. Probably not the most competitive team, but like still could happen. But the point here is that now I have two extra unprotected firsts on top of my own first round pick in what is a very good class. I don't know how competitive my team will be this year. We'll see. Just to kind of go through my roster and maybe give some extra context. I have Evan Mobley, Alex Sarr, Dylan Harper. That's like the core of my team. But I also have Lou Dort, Bryce Sensabaugh, Luke Kennard, Anthony Black. I drafted Hugo Gonzalez later in this draft. Obviously got Ron Holland in the trade. Couple other like more upside plays that may not be solid. So my team could be more competitive this year. I could also make a trade or two and make it less competitive and try one more year to rebuild. I've already been rebuilding for most of the time this league has been going on, but I've been able to add some pretty good players through that. Maybe just need one more year of rebuilding, and then maybe I'll start trading my first away and really go for this thing. But we'll see. Not going to set that up yet. But I have 3 chances at one of the top 3 picks, just depending on how the season plays out, and could still make other trades to potentially get another chance or two. But we'll see exactly how that plays out. Moving on. So after pick 18 went Walter Clayton at 19, Asa Newell at 20. And then we'll keep going. Johan Berenger at 21. Liam McNeely at 22. Ryan Kalkbrenner at 23, which I think is pretty decent value. I mean, I've had him ranked a good bit higher than that. And actually, let's just go back to talk some more about these, because I realize I'm flying through this draft. Sorber at 15, I think, is really good value. He's a guy that I've had ranked a little bit higher. And let me just pull up my first Dynasty, or my first rookie ranking. I had Sorber at 9. I think I started to bump him down a little bit after that, just because I was a little bit impressed by some other players at Summer League, which, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be really, really good in year one, but still liked what I saw enough to bump them up a little bit. But that isn't always the case. We shouldn't always react to Summer League super strongly to the point where we totally alter our rankings. Young Hansen at 16. Nice pick there. Noah Essengate 17. I'm a little bit lower on Essengate, but like obviously the vision's there. Same thing with Carter Bryant, who went 14. Just a little bit lower on them from a fantasy perspective. Though I do see the vision with both of them. And I think more so with Carter Bryant, I see, okay, like he'll be able to make an impact in year one, but how much of that is going to show up in the box score? I don't really know. A really effective player, especially on the defensive end, but is he going to get a ton of steals or a ton of blocks or maybe just make more of an impact with his perimeter defense? And how much is he going to be able to score? Still see the upside there, but I don't know how much immediately. Yakuchonis obviously struggled a good bit at times in Summer League, but also had some good moments. So the talent there is fun. Walter Clayton Jr. should get a chance to play rotation minutes year one in Utah. Asa Newell at 20. I really like Asa Newell as a player. I think he looked pretty good at times in Summer League. And I think he definitely fills a void in Atlanta, or like a role in Atlanta. But I don't know how many minutes he's going to get in year one. And it would probably be highest end outcome for him to even be a player that I guess is like a really strong fantasy option. Now he could, especially in a 30-team league, just be a rotation reserve 4/5 and get enough rebounds and blocks and points and high field goal percentage to be a decent contributor. And there is upside for him to be way more, but I don't think there's going to be too much there early on just because the Hawks are pretty deep this year. 21, Johan Berenger, I thought was really good value. I was very impressed with him at Summer League, as probably everyone was. The shot blocking ability was very impressive. Hopefully it won't take too long, but it could be a couple of years. But eventually this guy's going to be really good in fantasy, I feel like. So I feel like this is one of the best value picks of the draft. So let me see who made this pick and so I can shout them out. That was pick 21. Shout out Jared Johnson. Love the value pick there. It's a fantasy OG. Number 22 is Liam McNeely. He had a really nice summer league, so not surprised to see him go a little earlier than I would have had him pre-summer league after a really poor college season. I just mentioned Ryan Kalkbrenner. Think that he'll get a chance to play a lot year one without much competition in Charlotte at center. 24, we have Danny Wolf, who should also get to play a good bit in Brooklyn as they try and figure out center, because he is a pretty dynamic big in comparison to some of the other guys they have. Then 25, Rasheer Fleming, I think that's the second round pick, because Kalkbrenner was also a second round guy. But I think that just kind of goes to show that in Dynasty, we don't necessarily care too much about real life draft position. Now it's a factor for sure. If a player or a team invests first round, like a first round pick in a player, or I guess Young Hanson's probably the best example of Portland invested this early. I mean, I think it was 16th overall pick in a guy that most teams had going second round. And they had no problem doing that because there was rumors and reports that another team, I think it was supposed to be Brooklyn, would have taken him at like 18 or wherever they were. I think it was 18 at the time before they traded back. So they had to get their guy. And that shows that, okay, like they're not going to just waste that pick and just have it mean nothing. Like they're going to invest in him. But at the same time, we also still have to go with our talent evaluations and what we believe in based on the statistical production that we saw, whether it was in college or in a different league prior to joining the NBA, which is why both Ryan Kalkbrenner and Rasheer Fleming are first-round picks in Dynasty, in rookie drafts in 30-team leagues. It's probably a much better way to put that than first-round picks in Dynasty leagues, but why they're going in the first 30 picks of a rookie draft after going in the second round on draft night. So definitely two guys that I'm very excited about, both in year one, and more so Rasheer Fleming than Ryan Kalkbrenner, but even beyond that. Okay, continuing on, Jace Richardson at 26. This is such an interesting pick because I think Jace Richardson's really, really talented and has a chance to be a really good NBA player. But he's undersized, which is why he fell on draft night. I mean, it has to be. It's the only logical explanation because he tested well. Like he's got a nice wingspan, a nice vertical. He was very productive and efficient in college. Everything is positive except for the fact he's like 6'6". But he ended up in Orlando, which I think is a really good landing spot for him. But how productive is he going to be in the box score? I think it makes a little bit of sense why he fell in this draft. But you have to feel good about getting him at pick 26. Nolan Traore, 27. Maxime Reynaud at 28. Let's see. I'm trying to see who made that pick. Was it Dynasty Hoops HQ, maybe? That's a nice value pick. Adu Thiero at 29. And then I went with Hugo Gonzalez at 30. And the reason I did that was I think that maybe there's a chance that he gets a chance to play a good bit in year one. But also, I think there's a lot of upside here for him to be a really talented player. And I think probably the biggest factor for how much he's going to play this year is Boston going to be a playoff team? And if you check out our partners at FanDuel, I have the Christmas Day thing still pull up, but you can go over to whether or not a team will make the playoffs, and you can bet on every team in the NBA whether or not they will make the playoffs. So for the Celtics, it's minus 250 for that they will make the playoffs, plus 182 that they will not make the playoffs. To make the play-in tournament, it's plus 120 for them. So if you look at it here, in the East, this is basically the favorites to be the 7 through 10 seed. It's the Heat, Raptors, Pacers, and Celtics. And then the 76ers have the same odds as the Celtics. So the prediction based off these betting odds is that 4 of those 5 teams will be in the play-in tournament. And I'm assuming that the other one would probably just miss the play-in tournament because it would be based on this. Cavs 1, Knicks 2, Magic 3, Hawks 4, Pistons 5, Bucks 6. I'd imagine that Heat, Raptors, Pacers, and Celtics are 7 through 10, and the 76ers at 11. And that's why, since these odds are just a little different, because it's not just how good or how bad you are, it's how made you are, really. So if the Celtics are competing for a postseason spot, maybe there's an opportunity for Hugo Gonzalez, and they're like, hey, even though we're going to be in the postseason, we want to make sure we give everyone here a chance to see how much they can develop and give them real minutes. Maybe we could see a good bit of Hugo Gonzalez. There's also a chance that the Celtics just don't, like, not intentionally, but it ends up becoming like a gap year for them with no Jason Tatum. And the team isn't as competitive. And at that point, we're probably going to get to see a lot of Gonzalez. So we'll be keeping an eye on those odds. But if you feel pretty strongly one way or the other about a lot of these different teams, our partners at FanDuel are a great place to put your money where your mouth is. Moving on to the second round, we have Noah Penda at 31. I was considering him at 30 as well. Ben Suraf at 32, Will Riley at 33, Drake Powell at 34. And see, this is what I'm saying with, and we'll see this even down to pick 38 with Yannick Koenig-Niederhauser. It's just because a player goes in the first round does not mean that they have to go in the first round or the first 30 picks of your rookie draft. We talked about Kalkbrenner and Fleming. There's also Maxime Reynaud and Adu Thiero were also second-round picks. A lot of it is landing spot or talent or statistical production in college or wherever they're playing previously. It's not all just about draft capital. And if you're playing in a league with maybe people who don't pay attention or to Dynasty content creators and they just pay attention to draft capital or just look at and just try and go based off that, you're going to be able to get some really nice advantages in your draft. You're going to be able to get nice values on the players that we've mentioned in Kalkbrenner, Fleming, Reynaud, and Thiero, who I think all 4 of them have really fantasy-friendly games. But they're all second-round picks, so then maybe they'll go a little later in your rookie draft. So if you get the opportunity to take advantage, definitely do that. And now we're seeing Ben Zarov, Will Riley, Drake Powell. I think Noah Penda was a second-round pick. If I'm not mistaken, I got to go back and double-check this. Yeah, second-round pick. But Suraf, Will Riley was the 21st pick. Drake Powell was 22. Suraf was 26. So, like, just because the guy goes in the first round, and Yannick Koenig-Niederhauser was the last pick of the first round at 30. But that doesn't mean that they have to go in the first round. Cam Jones, nice value there at 35, could play a good bit for Indiana as they try and figure things out at point guard this year. Janai Broom at 36, Brooks Barnhizer at 37, which if I'm not mistaken, no, I think that pick ended up being, yeah. I think he was accidentally auto-drafted earlier in the draft. It got fixed, so no worries there. Yannick Niederhauser at 38, Kobe Bray at 39. Had a really good summer league for the Suns. It's going to be interesting to see. Like a lot of the Devin Booker comps, don't think that'll hold up, but maybe. Tyrese Proctor at 40. Then we're moving on to the last 20 picks of the draft. Zion James at 41, Jameer Watkins at 42, and Amari Williams at 43. We saw Jameer Watkins have a really good summer league. Defensively, history tells us that won't translate to the NBA directly, but that doesn't mean he won't be effective. We'll see. Amari Williams, I think, has a nice chance to see minutes in Boston. Then we got Markovich to the Bucks at 44, and I think every report that I've seen is that he's going to be overseas again this year. So not a player that will make an impact year one because he just won't be in the NBA, but still a lot of talent to eventually make an impact. Chaz Lanier at 45, a nice shooter with Tim Hardaway Jr. in, where did he go? Denver? I think he went to Denver. And Malik Beasley, still not signed to a team because of his off-court scandals. I think it was a gambling thing, but I don't remember specifically, so I don't want to just fully say that. But something that's kept him from being signed. So Chaz Lanier should get a chance to play in year one. Ryan Nembhard to Dallas at 46. He'll, I think, get a gem. He's on a two-way, so maybe not. But, I mean, he was an undrafted guy, and he will potentially have a chance to play in year one just until they figure out point guard, until Kyrie gets back. Juwan Small at 47, Tamar Bates at 48, Rocco Zakarski at 49, Jemai Meshak at 50. I liked what I saw from him in Summer League. Mohamed Diawara at 51, Alex Tui at 52, Elijah Martin at 53. I liked what I saw from him at Summer League. Lachlan Ulbrich at 54, Miles Kelly 55, Micah Peavy 56, 57 Max Shulga, 58 Caleb Love, 49 RJ Lewis, and 60 Dylan Cardwell. So definitely some pretty good players that still didn't end up getting picked or haven't gotten picked up at this point. I mean, we're looking at it. No. Vlad Golden from Miami, still a free agent. Couple others. John Tanji, I thought, probably saying that last name wrong, who I thought had some nice moments for the Jazz during Summer League when he finally played. I think he missed the first few games. So that was our 30 team, the Dynasty's 30s rookie draft. I said my picks and the trades that I made. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast, which is part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network, part of the Believe Network, which is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll be back tomorrow with Matt Lawson. I think we're going to emphasize points leagues, which I know some people have been asking for, and Matt is more of an expert on that than I am, which is why we're talking about it when Matt's on here, not just me by myself. But I'm going to make sure that I'm more prepared for that as well, so that we can talk about that. But like I said, that's going to do it for this episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow.